So hey guys, today we're looking at Tenpai, and we're just going to do a quick breakdown of Tenpai and what they do. So Tenpai cards I think are actually not that strong, except for one of them, but we'll go into that way later. So essentially what this deck does is it just floods the field with a bunch of guys and attacks you a bunch of times. And it also plays a bunch of board breakers to break down your board before setting that up. So the deck I think itself is, the deck itself is kind of just okay. If we're looking at the engine, well, I think this engine honestly kind of sucks ass. So if we look at Tenpai Dragon Hydra, this is a one card kind of OTK combo. Same with Chundra, Kaiman, and Sangen Summoning. And also Genroku is technically also a starter, but the deck, yeah, not that great. So the basic idea for this, if we start Hydra, we can add either the Sangen Kaiman or the Sangen Summoning. So we can do like Sangen Kaiman to add the Genroku, add the Chundra, whatever. Chundra is the only one that special summons itself from hand. So if we control another Fire Dragon monster, we can special summon the Chundra from hand with its own effect. So for example, normal summon Hydra, activate to add Sangen Summoning, special summon the Chundra, and then we can climb into Bident special summons a guy back. We go into Sengenpai Transcendent Dragon. Our opponent now cannot activate cards in the battle phase. And that's just cards in general. So back row, cards in hand, none of that would be activatable if this card is made. And then Sangen Summoning makes it so your opponent cannot affect, I guess Fire Dragon monsters. Not just Tenpai or Sangen cards, I guess. Just Fire Dragons in period are unaffected by your opponent's activated effects. So the only things that aren't considered activated effects are just continuous effects, I guess. So that'd be like your skill drains and whatever continuous effects, like I guess Scareclaw, Tryhard, Baguska. Those are continuous effects, so those work. And this also does a surge. So when we pair these cards together, you wouldn't be able to activate cards during the main phase, you wouldn't be able to activate cards during the battle phase, and there is going to be no main phase 2, that's the assumption, because the game will be over in the battle phase because they will lethal you. Probably. So that's essentially what Tenpai kinda does, I guess. Also worth mentioning, I guess, are the fact that Chundra cannot be ashed because the effect to special summon here is, not that one. The effect to special summon here is going to occur at the start of the damage step, which is not ashable. If an effect happens in damage step, we need something that negates activation and not effect to be activatable here, which is a little bit annoying, but yeah, I guess it can come up. So in this case, you just drop Ash on whatever, you know? I mean, if they have it, they have it, you know? That's kind of how this deck feels a little bit. But, okay. Hydra can essentially grab you either Sangen Summoning or the Kaiman to get you access to the Chundra, and the Chundra is mostly what we're worried about here against this deck here. So, if we start with Genroku, we can also get into Chundra, and if we have Chundra to start with, we have Chundra, which can go into the Hydra. So that's essentially all this is. And yeah, that's the general idea. So we can also quick synchro, and then Chundra is the primary tuner still. So really have to look to get rid of this Chundra here, I guess. But the annoying thing is when we get to the battle phase with these guys is they become hard to deal with in the sense that they aren't targetable either. So if we activate like Hydra or Fadra or any number of these guys in the battle phase, they have a soft once per turn effect to quick synchro. So every single Sangen Tenpai card has this effect. I believe Even this one might have it, right? No, this is the only one that doesn't have it, but it's off once per turn, so pretty hard to use like targeted removal against Tenpai in general during the battle phase. So simply if we just remove them during the main phase, if possible, like if they do not have the Sengen summoning, not that big of an issue. They don't really do much. So if we're playing just Yubel and we're just focusing on specifically just the Tenpai engine, we can use the effect of the Unchained trap to just pop the summoning, and then if they normal summon the Chundra, we can just remove this by whatever means. So yeah, that's done and dusted, I guess. And worth mentioning, I guess, is Apollosa also can negate Chundra's effect because Apollosa negates activations. So Chundra wouldn't be able to resolve nor attack into Apollosa because of Nightmare Pain. So that's cool, I guess. And in fact, most decks actually have a way to remove like Sengen summoning. Like if we were playing Snake Eye or any deck that makes IP in general, we IP into SP, and then, you know, SP banishes Sengen summoning, and then if our opponent normal summons like a Hydra or something, or activates an effect, then we can SP banish this. And SP banish Chundra is pretty notable because Biden only special summons back from the graveyard. So no Chundra in the graveyard means no Chundra effect, and Chundra is a tuner. So the only way you could have gotten into, I guess, the Biden Dragon is if we used the Genroku as a tuner, which is doable, I guess. So that works. But yeah, now for going first plays for what we can do with Tenpai, well, we're going to focus on the meta build, I guess, for this. So what we can do is we can summon either Hydra or Genroku. Chundra actually does nothing because there's no battle phase, so or damage step, so we can't use the effect to special summon. But essentially what we're going to do is we're going to Hydra to add either Sengen Summoning or Kaiman to add Chundra, and that's one of the cards you do. But essentially we just want to get two guys onto the field, and then we can either make like Biden Dragon and then Seals, or we just make Seals straight up, and that is all we can do. So yeah, that's it. A whole lot of nothing in my opinion. But I guess worth mentioning is the Seals. You can't really deal with this if, well, by battle. If we try to go battle, they can special summon Chundra. If you try to do battle with the Chundra, then this will allow them to summon Hydra and then synchro into Trident, or Biden Dragon, and then they can go into Transcendent Dragon, and then all of your monsters have to attack into the Transcendent Dragon, so you just lose bodies, I guess. I guess there is also, like, potentially Fadra, special summon back Chundra, and then we go into this. Kind of depends exactly what your opponent has and how they made the Seals, I guess. But they probably have a Chundra in graveyard, so I guess they can Fadra, bring back the Chundra, and kind of go through all of this. And yeah, that's not great to let your opponent to do that, so would not recommend that, I guess. So next thing that we're going to look at is the non-engine that is played. So it's mostly going to be some backrow removal. A lot less people are actually running like removal cards for monsters, like specifically Raigeki, because they don't care. This guy is a bit of an exception, I guess, but whatever. I guess there is Lightning Storm, which can easily be played around by summoning all your guys in defense, but yeah, we have Duster, we have Heavy Storm, and Lightning Storm. Those are the three most commonly played backrow removal cards, but here in this case, we also have Red Reboot. So, with this stuff, well, these cards, an easy way to kind of counter this is with, like, any kind of Omni Negate kind of counter trap. So, if we use that against a Forbidden Droplet, or just, for the most part, just traps in general, so we could do a Solemn Judgment, or if we're feeling a little bit spicy, we can Tekken Diabell Star to grab ourselves Sinful Spoils of Betrayal Silvera, and then Silvera can negate Forbidden Droplet or a Solemn. And the only downside to this, that's kind of a downside I guess, is that if we use a Solemn card or something that negates activation, Forbidden Droplet is activatable again. But at the same time, wait, didn't our opponent send a bunch of cards for Forbidden Droplet? Yes. Yes, they did indeed. So they're down cards. So if they activate a second Forbidden Droplet, they're down at least 2 more cards. So is that big of a deal? If they only have 1 card left, they just die to a single Ash Blossom Geospring. So we take those, I guess, right? And then they don't have much going on after that point. If we're going to be, let's see. If we're going to be dealing with the red reboot, that is one way to deal with the red reboot as well, with a counter trap specifically. So with the Unchained example earlier, well, kinda Unchained example, the yugioh deck usually ends on Unchained, Soul Elf Rage, and also the pop backrow. We can go chain 1 to pop summoning, or chain 2 to pop summoning, however you're feeling, whatever. Probably summoning to search, I guess. We try to pop this, our opponent chains red reboot, we chain like a Solemn onto this, and then our opponent will lose the red reboot and the Sangan summoning. So that is just an option in general. And Forbidden Droplet, worth mentioning, like, this actually, situationally, cannot be negated by, like, a Solemn, but only if our opponent controls, well, if they send a trap, which is not that likely because our opponent likely did not play around this, and they likely impermed a part of our end board, and they no longer have it in hand, even if they have Forbidden Droplet and imperm in hand at some point, they probably don't anymore. If they have a red reboot, yeah, they probably aren't going to pitch red reboot for this, so it kind of works. And red reboot isn't that commonly played well for the time being anyways, so it's mostly pitch imperm that we have to be looking out for, so not too worried about that. But general idea here is that we're going to throw out some backer removal, whatever cards we have. So let's just do a quick test hand. So in this hand, we're going to throw out like a Duster. If our opponent maybe has a Solemn here, we're going to red reboot that, and whatever they set is going to be destroyed as well, which is actually not fully great, because if our opponent plays specifically Transaction Rollback, this is actually a worse order. In that case, we were better off holding red reboot, and then we use Sangan Kaiman, get ashed, and I guess if we're going second, we have 1 more card. Yeah, that doesn't change much. If we get ashed, we lose, because Sangan Kaiman, and a lot of decks have follow-up nowadays, so yeah. So just for example, with Snake Eye, I activate original Sinful Spoils, go full combo again, you know. Oh, joy. And let's see, do we even prosp? Assume we prosp for 6. Ooh. Dies to Ash again, pretty much. And the funny thing is, if we're playing against a Snake Eye build that can recycle Ash Blossom Geospring, yeah, this isn't going to resolve either. And then this wouldn't resolve either, if we somehow live this many turns. But okay, cool, very epic indeed. Okay. So, doing another test hand here. We have Imperm, Maxi, and then we have normal summon, I guess, Genroku. Try to activate, probably special summon Chudra, activate Genroku effect to summon Pydro, to grab either Kaiman or Summoning. But we actually have 1 more card, so I guess here, in this case, it would be Kaiman. And we would activate Sangan Summoning first. No board breakers. If our opponent has like an Ash for the Maxi and then tanks the Imperm, yeah, it's not looking that great for us here, like, honestly. So the Chundra here, if we normal summon this, if we're against specifically Unchained, or the yugioh I mean, then we can play around the Unchained Soul of Rage, and then this can't be linked off, but this all has to be done during main phase 1, I guess, for the most part, summoning Pydra and all that. So our opponent can still get SP, and then banish our guys. And the only card we can attack into is going to be the Phantom. So yeah, this is pretty brutal. Not much is going to be happening here, right? Oh, here we have Droplet, which is one of the best cards here. But yeah, not all hands can be. Yeah, not all hands can be bangers, I guess, right? So yeah, there's a lot more backer removal being run in here than normal. I guess we'd change this out for more engine, but whatever. The deck in general, not that great, even as a going second deck. If we consider like what some other pure going second decks do, this isn't like that special. So in fact, I would argue this is worse than some of the other ones because we require our normal summon. This means we cannot play Lava Golem, we cannot play Sphere Mode, which Numeron can play, and Numeron I believe is actually, depending on the hand I guess, but I believe Numeron is a little bit more consistent than this, and their engine is more efficient, so arguably you could say that this is just worse than Numeron. Well, yeah. As far as Master Duel is concerned anyways, because, you know, Numeron going first is also pretty awful, in the sense that if you're going first with Numeron, yeah, if we make, for example, an Apollosa or anything in general with Numeron and then pass, we can't OTK on later turns. If we're playing Mikanko, our opponent can just commit nothing to the board, and you might struggle to find lethal, so bit awkward there, but in best of one format, like, yeah, Tenpai is not as good in comparison to the other two, and you don't always know like what deck you're playing against in best of one, so that's why the other two decks are a bit better. In best of three, of course, like, yeah, passing and doing nothing is a viable strategy, so great. That just works against those decks, and they do a whole lot of nothing. I guess Mikanko has the idea of being really annoying and untargetable. But okay, so one of the primary weaknesses I've yet to mention with Tenpai is that they're very weak to non-targeted removal. So the worst one that we can do to Tenpai is just upboard wipe. So for example, we'll go with what I think is going to be fine. So let's say we're sick in the head. We'll just go with Zeus, for example, because the type of effect I want to kind of like look at is a Zeus type effect anyway, so I will refer to that effect as Zeusing the entire board anyway, so why not make Zeus? Sure. So if we go to battle phase and we do not have the Transcendent Dragon, chain 1 Zeus. Okay, you can chain 2, go into like any of these guys, doesn't matter, they're gone from the board. The only thing you can do here is activate Sangen Kaiman and start over. So this card, honestly, I think that this is broken. This is dumb. The only way you have to stop this is with like a spell trap removal, or you hard open like Ash Blossom Joe Spring, which is just meh. I hate Sangen Kaiman. I think honestly, you could put Sangen Summoning to 3 and I wouldn't care. But having Sangen Kaiman, like, I think if Tenpai were an issue, limiting Sangen Kaiman is more the play than limiting Sangen Summoning, because Sangen Summoning honestly isn't that bad, because every deck under the sun can remove Sangen Summoning just unironically. So, yeah, why care about Sangen Summoning at all? But with like those same cards, we can't use removal on Sangen Kaiman. We can't really easily tell if our opponent has Sangen Kaiman or Sangen Summoning already, so we might be wasting monster negates on like a Pydra, a Genroku, whatever, and then our opponent Sangen Summonings into like the Chundra, and then you're kind of screwed. But if we Ash the Sangen Summoning, they might already have the Chundra. They might be able to already have a Sangen Kaiman to not only just summon the Chundra, but do a little bit more, I guess, afterwards, after summoning the Pydra, which is annoying. So yeah, the Sangen Kaiman, definitely the card to limit, and not the Sangen Summoning if we want to see this deck brutalized. The same way, I guess, more or less, Kishtira was. So yeah. Do you guys remember how great Kishtira was for like a week? It was still not that great because a lot of the cards were limited, so the consistency kind of like just sucks ass. So yeah, I mean, it's at least playable, but it's not that great because simply one word, consistency. So yeah, at least you have like Dora if you really need to play that. But being able to essentially use a card from hand to like summon this. This is, yeah, this is awful, right? I hate Sangakaiman. So great. The deck doesn't really do that much, and you know, with non-targeted removal, if we do that as Chain Link 1, if you try to quick synchro, we can remove whatever you synchro summon, so in this case Dragion, and it does not even get to activate. If we have a Chundra here and we don't do anything, Chundra will just be removed, and you just have no more tuners and no more Chundra, so you can't summon any more guys in the battle phase, unless you have Sangakaiman. So in this case, both options are viable. So something like a Mirror Jade is actually pretty efficient at stopping, I guess, Tenpai. So non-targeted attempt to remove Chundra. Let's assume our opponent hits us with the droplet. Okay. If we summoned the Mirror Jade, you know what this means we have. Well, of course, this means we have a Fallen of Albaz, probably in the graveyard. We'll just assume this is the case. So then we can immediately after, because Rinbrom is sent for a cost by the Mirror Jade, we can Mirror Jade, bounce back the Fallen of Albaz. And then, with this, we can fuse our opponent's entire board away with the Albalenitis, the Abyss Dragon, using Fallen of Albaz plus 1 plus Dragon monsters. And also, did I mention that this also doesn't target, so this is essentially like Zeusing all of the monsters off of your Dragon deck opponents, well, your Dragon main decking opponents' monsters are... I don't have a good way to phrase this. Okay, but essentially this is non-targeted, wipe your opponent's entire board with the Fallen of Albaz, and we can go into the Albalenitis off of this. Very epic. So that is essentially, with one card, we can like go into Verte and kind of make this happen. So Verte, make Mirror Jades and Fallen of Albaz, put back, I think, yeah, put back the, well, send the Verte, and then send the Fallen of Albaz from the deck, make the Mirror Jade sends Rinbrom, and boom, you have a Tenpai counter right there. Pretty simple. If our opponent doesn't like forbidden droplet this before we, well, let's see. No, even if this is forbidden dropleted, we can still send Rinbrom for cost. Yeah, this is not very stoppable. So yeah, this is just a very solid plan against like Tenpai or any dragon deck really. This is just complete brutality. Well, yeah. And also worth mentioning is if we do get hit by a forbidden droplet and this Mirror Jade still stands, you know, we can use the effect again. So let's assume our opponent somehow by some miracle is able to still do like a Seal's Pass after this, and they don't have lethal, then we can just banish using the effect of Mirror Jade. So we can remove the seals, or force the seals with the Mirror Jade next turn, assuming we get hit by a droplet. Cool, I guess. Very epic indeed. So, yeah. Tenpai, main weakness here is, I guess going first, is pretty awful. Other weakness is counter traps can work pretty well, and backrow can work pretty well as, well, pretty great as well. So notably, if they do not play like Red Reboot, well, Cosmic is whatever, but if our opponent does not play Red Reboot, we can very simply hit our opponent with, this Lord of the Heavenly Prison, and like a bajillion different other cards can now kind of protect your back row and insulate it from like just removal, like Harpy's Feather Duster. So in case it gets you get hit by like a Duster, that there plays for a bunch of different back row decks, so you're not too peeved by like removal. So just chilling at this point. And also, I guess worth mentioning is that guys, just stop. I'm seeing Labyrinth players playing like Threatening Roar, and I'm just like, are you guys serious? Just stop. Just play D-Barrier. There are other decks than Tenpai. Like, come on. You can just declare Synchro and be done with it, right? Like, come on. And if you're against like a deck that's not Tenpai, you can just, I don't know, let's say we're against Sword Soul, we can well, I guess it's still synchro. If we're against branded, we can just declare fusion, you know? Instead of setting like a threatening roar against branded, like, come on, guys. So, yeah. I think that is mostly everything we need to cover here. But, yeah, I guess yeah. I think that's about everything that Tenpai does, right? It's not that interesting. Well, I guess we can still go over the extra deck real fast. So, we can make Black Rose Dragon, which is a fire dragon monster. So, it's unaffected by activated effects because of Sangen summoning, and this can board wipe. It also kind of will remove your Sangen summoning, so it's like, okay, I guess. And then, Black Rose Moonlight Dragon can bounce cards, and then you have some guys to make it so your opponent can't activate cards in the battle phase, or whatever. So this one makes it so monster effects cannot be activated during the battle phase. This one makes it so, you can negate a monster's effects during the battle phase. So this might be useful against, like, well, a Yubel, I guess, because you should be able to destroy it by battle with the Samurai Destroyer, I guess. So something like that, I suppose. But, yeah, for the most part, this deck isn't, like, that toxic. It's not that OP or anything. I mean, it's just, like, going second decks are always going to be annoying. They do the same kind of thing. Like, honestly, Makanko, their engine is more annoying, just period. Because Arabesque kind of has, like, the same annoying things going. Oh, did you open Ash Blossom Joe Spring for Makanko Water Arabesque? No? You lost your guy because it got Kaiju'd, and then they're bouncing back like the Kaiju or Lava Golem. So in terms of like what we're doing here, I would argue that this is much more disgusting because we can actually respond to every single thing that Tenpai is doing unless they're playing Super Poly, I guess, for the most part, or like a Red Reboot, which are just generics, which are just whatever. But yeah, they can't do as many things as, like, well, I would consider just non-respondable things much more toxic. So this deck I would say is just alright. The primary thing that pushes everyone away from like all going second decks in general, though, I have to say it's definitely the price. Like, look at this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 URs, and honestly you want to run 2 Genroku just because, like, in case you open one, it's kind of better to have the second one. So there's that. And then we still need the Transcendent Dragon, and then like all of our back row removal cards and whatnot, like Duster, Forbidden Droplets, Sangen Kaiman, Imperm, and then like Lightning Storm, Heavy Storm, Duster, whatever. And then all of these hand traps are also UR. So yeah, pretty damn expensive here. I would check if I could, but I'm not 100% sure how much UR you would need to craft like this list in general, right? Like removing the Zeus, and we also have like a Typhon, a Seals. Seals is actually not something you would need to craft. You can just pay 500 gems for the structure with the seals in it. But yeah, this is going to cost a whole lot of gems or UR CV, so pretty expensive deck, and it's not that insane of a deck. It's just alright, I would say, personally. So yeah, there are a lot of decks and a lot of strategies that can kind of be adapted to play around this more. The simplest thing I think you could do is simply put in like just copies of Diabellstar and Wanted, and throw in some copies of Sinful Spoils of Betrayal Silvera, and that'll probably be good enough for the time being. There are some other things like D-Barrier, Declare Synchro, and then you're also golden in that case, especially if you have like follow-up in your deck. So something like a Vanquished Soul, setting a D-Barrier against this, declaring Synchro, probably good enough to win, honestly. So yeah, that's all I got for you guys today, and I hope this was helpful in what I guess Tenpai does here, I guess. One effect I guess I forgot to mention is that all of the Sangen synchros have the effect to special summon from the graveyard if 3 or more attacks have been declared, which is kind of like a little bit annoying, but gets more damage on board and allows them to remove more things by battle, I guess. So that's cool. but the primary removal with this deck is going to be all through battle, and they don't have non-engine to do this. So, pretty whatever deck, in my opinion. And I wouldn't really call this deck like that strong. It's kind of whatever. I've seen much worse metas, much worse strategies, much more painful strategies to play against. And yeah, as a going second strategy, I don't feel like this is inherently that disgusting. So yeah, I think something like cash going second might be stronger, unironically, if we had more cash cards. One Finner. Yeah. So there are some things you can do with Tenpai beyond like just OTK strategies as well, and we'll probably just cover that in another video. And oh yeah, one last thing actually. With Sangan summoning, the highest attack point dragon monster we have is 3k. So we can actually pop Sangan summoning twice, and this is not hard once per turn. I mean, this would be like somewhat annoying to do, but if we pop both copies of Sangan summoning, we can have a 1.2k Trident Dragon that can attack 3 times. Thought that was worth mentioning. So yeah, that would be able to get over like a Psychic and Punisher by battle if we wanted to do it that way. Bit goofy, but something you can do, I guess. So yeah, that's all I got for you guys today, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.